اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد الفاتح لما أغلق والخاتم لما سبق ناصر الحق بالحق وهادي إلى صراطك المستقيم وعلى آله حق قدره مقدار العظيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. صلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. الحمد لله رب العالمين. أفضل الصلاة وتم التسليم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. ورضي الله تعالى عن السادة التابعين علماء آمنين وأئمة أربعين مجتهدين مقلديهم إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Welcome to another the Soullutionz podcast. Tonight's discussion is what's blocking our growth. I'm one of your hosts, Imam Muhammad Abdullah Ameen, along with Amir Khalil Abdullahi and brother Saleh Abdul Mujeeb. So, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. This topic is a broader topic, and there are a number of things that are blocking our growth as a community. Okay, as a community. A number of things is blocking our growth as a community. I think, am I frozen? Assalamu alaikum. Can everyone hear me? Okay, all right. So my camera is frozen, so I didn't know if anyone could hear me. So there's a number of things that's blocking our growth as a community, as a Muslim community. I don't like to use the term the black Muslim community, the African American community, because I don't identify as black or African community, the African American. I identify as New African. All right, so still, one thing in particular is that our growth and our understanding and our learning the deen and applying it is that one of the things that stunts our growth, affects our growth, is that in teaching the religion, teaching in regards to the sciences of al-Islam, the sciences of the deen, aqidah, fiqh, tasawwuf, is that many of us we tend to believe that we have to attach a label to it. However, when we're teaching the correct creed, the only thing that's important is that we learn the correct creed. The labels and the nuances are not so much as important. All right, they're not so much as important. All right. All right. So it's not as much as important attaching a label to what's important is having a correct creed. In regards to learning fiqh, all right, as to learning and practicing fiqh, what's more important is that we're learning fiqh from the routes of one of the methabs, of Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah. and sticking to it, except to where conditions exist to where we may have to take a dispensation or a compromise or a ruksa, right? A ruksa, which being a compromise or a dispensation, right? Um, for anyone who is a common person doesn't have to follow a method. A common person takes the method of whatever route of learning that they're learning from. In regards to tasawwuf or ihsan, right? That even though the tariqas, they're considered schools of tasawwuf in regard schools of tasawwuf, schools, right, or tariqas, but you don't necessarily have to learn or practice tasawwuf through the route of a tariqa. However, finding a sheikh or murshid, finding a guiding sheikh, normally the guiding sheikh that we find, they come through an avenue of a tariqa, unless they're like Imam Nawawi, right, or unless they're like Imam al-Ghazali, Hamid al-Ghazali, rahimahullah, Allah yarhamuhu, right? Which, saying, people, I named them because they didn't have a particular tariqa. Even the works of the Shaykh Uthman that Fodio took out on Allah bi rahmati Ameen, though he had um, Allah Ta'ala illuminated him, and he had a number of routes of tasawwuf. He had a number of disciplines in tariqa, though his teaching of tasawwuf is not tariqa based. The teaching of tasawwuf by his brother Sheikh Abdullahi then Fodio, to God of Allah bi rahmati Ameen, was not tariqa based, and the proof is in the writings. You could read the writings of the Sheikh, the writings of Sheikh Abdullahi, and you will find that none of the knowledge of tasawwuf is tariqa based, right? So one of I mentioned in our learning and our applying, because what type of growth does that stop us in? It stop us in actually um, putting in the work and the ability to actually come together without any egos involved, right? Without any egos involved. Because one thing that we realize is that we don't realize is that every last one of us has an ego. Every last one of us has nafs, right? And the egos and the nafs is one of the things that destroy us. If it was not, then they wouldn't be considered part of the destructive traits, right? The destructive traits that destroys the heart. So I wanted to mention that as a breaking of the ice for the conversation, to piggyback off of that and go on to other topics, because there's many other topics um, that facilitate a reason why we're blocking our growth as a community, right? These are some of the major discussions that we have generally on social media, consistently on social media, right? Another thing that we can address is topics that's related to um, our application in areas as it relates to marriage and divorce, that we have developed. Many of us has developed certain practices that are contrary to the book and the sunnah, right? Some things from the sunnah that we hold strong to in practicing as it relates to marriage and divorce, and some things we shy away from, right? And some things we shy away from. One topic that I'm really tired of I'm really tired of talking about, but it's always gonna be an exciting trended topic, and that topic is never gonna leave because you have some people. I know brothers personally that accepted Islam because we can have more than one wife, right? I know brothers personally that,
Polygyny, huh?
you know what I mean, that accepted Islam because they can have more than one wife. And some of them brothers used to be pimps. You know what I'm saying? So the the reality of that lifestyle, they just had to alter it a little bit, right? But that topic is never going anywhere. That topic is gonna always be a source of controversy amongst the Muslims, right?
But people who talk about polygamy the most is people that's never engaged in it anyway.
Well, people that's never engaged in it, and people that really don't know what is doing it correctly and what is doing it incorrectly. I mean,
Polygyny,
because
that topic of polygyny,
and the fact that they've never actually seen it in seen it working in a practical
not
manner.
not only that, Sheikh, polygyny is that topic, that gateway topic to you becoming a deviant or whether you're gonna follow the deen. And the reason why I'm saying that, not just because of polygyny itself, we developed the idea that we can argue with Allah and His Messenger based on the topic of polygyny. First thing person tells a person when they become Muslim, you ain't got to do it. Like, what are you talking about? Why are you even giving me these kind of conversations? You understand what I'm saying? And we tell them that in the with the mind state of, well, at least they'll stay Muslim. Because a lot of women, they become Muslim, they be like, well, I ain't doing that multiple wife thing, right? I even felt it when I first took Shahada. I lied to my first wife. Yo, I ain't never gonna get married. No, nobody else. That was a lie. I got married 3 months later. I lied. You know what I'm saying? It's the gateway. It opens the door for you to argue with Allah. After that, whether you decide you're gonna eat halal or haram meat with the name of Allah mentioned over it, that's your choice now. You don't have no problem disobeying Allah. You don't have no problem disregarding the deen. And with all of the things that's going on, within America, no matter of fact, I'm gonna rewind it even further back. One of our biggest downfalls as a community, as a tribe of people, meaning the Black indigenous American Muslims, one of the first things is that we know damn well we trying to be on the minhaj of the Yahudi, is that we say we need an Islam for Black people. We are not. It's not like that. We not on that path. But you already come in with the idea that you're going to change Islam from within to fit you, versus you becoming Muslim and submitting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We got to be like one of the few people. Later on, when societies are developed, deviants usually come about later. We come right in deviating. Then it opens the door for you to argue who got the proper creed, who don't got the proper creed, who's going to follow method, who ain't going to follow a method. We open the door for that. Then we always look for everything to be put to us, put out there for us in English. And many of us in our development, of that deviant fraction of Muslims called the Quraniyun, right? The Quran, people say you only follow the Quran. That's the idea of the kuffar, the idea of the Orientalists. They used to write and get PhDs on Islam. So a lot of us are using their methodology. We don't accept hadith. We only accept the Quran, right? The same thing with regards to the Sunnah of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, right? A lot of people, because of the insurgents, I'll say, or the onslaught dealing with the whole Wahhabi, versus Sunni campaign, the Sunnis were relaxed when it comes to the Sunnah. Were relaxed, right? The Salafi Wahhabis show up on the set and they start practicing, doing outward things with regards to the deen. Many Black Sunnis hate the Sunnah based on they'll attribute it to who? The Wahhabis. Most people be like, yo, hadith, you can't do this. They got all this rhetoric about hadith. Why? Because they're trying to oppose another group. So, the focus ain't even right. The focus is all the way off. We're looking for a physical enemy to fight against, and we're being manipulated to fight against each other. We're being manipulated to fight against each other. Dudes aren't even thorough in their research. Most dudes that went to go study, they came back, they can't get a job because they ain't got no skill. So become a preacher. I mean, the imam, not the imam, the teacher, right? And what is he doing?
Which one is it? Which one is it, Imam Khalil? The preacher, the teacher?
They all three. They all three. They share the same characteristic. All three of them. So, so then when people are looking for leadership, we're constantly doing that whole, presidential, American presidential approach. And what's that approach? Let me see how much dirt I can find on them. Let me expose the dirt. We want to tear down everything. If you ever notice, and we're not into nation building or community building, so we don't pass down any legacy. You ever notice everybody talks about isnad and ijaza, but you ever notice the ijaza never comes from the one who's teaching you, and the isnad stops with them, and they never tell you who, or give you these things, but they use these things as whipping sticks because it was always natural. It's that plantation mentality, right? All of our heroes, Black American heroes like Nat Turner, right? All of these guys, they were literate and the other people were illiterate. You see what I'm saying? Even Nat Turner and his son, and I love Nat Turner, I love his story, right? But he said, he was literate. He said Jesus told him to kill the white man. I always joke and I say it like, I like your Jesus, right? But Jesus told him to kill a white man, right? Nobody else could say that. It didn't say that in the book. We have the same exact thing still happening to this day. Same exact thing. So, it's like really bad. Marriage. Our marriages are persuaded. How's our marriages persuaded and infiltrated? Right? The hatred of men and women. We had more of a unification as a family and a family of understanding, right? Because you did have some men, but a lot of men were out there trying to get it, right? The jobs. One of the dynamics from back in the day that you have now, one job can't support a household no more. So using that you shouldn't get married until you got money type of thing, ain't nobody gonna get married. This has been a problem from day one, from the time I came into Islam. When I became Muslim, they was telling me stuff like, yo, look, when you come in from work, you might just hand all your money over to your wife. What? I think I've been casted out of my family if I did something like that. I mean, what do you mean I got to hand all my money over to my wife?
Now, Imam Khalil, can I ask you a question?
Go ahead.
Right? Speaking on that, I'm going to stay on the topic with that. When it touched me when you said that. You spoke about that people saying that you got to have money, right?
Mm-hmm.
To get married, right? You got to have married. You said that, we won't get married. Now, what about the key thing of that is that we don't want to be families, period.
No.
So how we get married, and the goal of marriage is, as you said, is that it has an objective of taking something instead of giving into it, right? So it's to the point now that me and you spoke when we said that traditional marriages don't exist anymore.
They don't.
It don't.
Why
so
you think everybody use terms like modern day women?
Right. So even if I want to marry a woman, right, she don't want to stay home. She don't want to stay home. So if you don't want to stay home, you want to be in a working field. So what is the purpose of me providing if this is something you don't want to do on your end? Can you answer that for me, Imam Khalil?
Well, the first mind state, the first thing is that you have to approach the thing with your mind state, right? Now, and this is the way I develop my thinking. Otherwise, I'll be on the same wave that everybody else is on. First and foremost, what comes first is what Allah Ta'ala say. Allah Ta'ala places as a responsibility as a head, right? I don't become the leader of my family just because I'm married. I become the leader of my family because that's what Allah Ta'ala is divine. We have to view it as that. So I got a divine obligation to take care of. Secondly, if I'm gonna be the man, I can't be the man in some parts, and in the other parts, I gotta take a seat, take a back seat type of thing. All right. Always stood on that, always lived by that. If I'm gonna be the man, be in control, I gotta control, the whole situation, right? Now, What do I mean by that? I take care of the affairs in the home. You know, a lot of your problems that that you have is sometimes the method and how we approach things. Now, the second thing is the thing that also infiltrates Islam and hurts Islam, which hurt the black community in general, is the independent woman syndrome, right? The independent woman, the thing is that whoever finances when you're an American, right? And it's usually what I call the dusty Negro mentality. Whoever finances you, whoever gives you money, they control you, right? When you got that dusty Negro mentality, you get it how you live it. You take it from whoever, you get it how you want to get it. You know, you don't care where it comes from or any of this, right? So these government provided subsidies to help families that are in need, right? It's not an actual problem in and of itself. It's not a problem in and of itself, but what it is that it empowered our women who already hate their men. A lot of our problems didn't just start now. So that's one thing I want you to keep in mind, Saleh, as I answer this question. Our problems that we're having today, the new modern day problems that you're having, it did not start now. It start with the people you praise all the time. Go back to grandma and grandpa. When grandpa out working, grandma hated being dependent on grandpa hand and foot. So what she would tell the granddaughters is, baby, you make sure you go to school so you don't have to depend on no man. And so as we heard that as little boys growing up, what do we tell our daughters? Go to school so you don't have to be dependent on no man, right? And most of the time, our advice is coming from a place of an absent father anyway. We are like a sometimey. That was the sometimey pop. That pop in and out. Yo, dudes is out here. They grimy, they foul, right? They grimy, they foul. So you're already looking at the person, your potential spouse. Now, there may be some truth to it, but you're looking at your potential spouse, grouping them one lump sum. You put them all, you use that paintbrush, a wide paintbrush, paint everybody with the same look. The same way that people say, if you're a person that practice polygyny, people in the community and also other leaders, they give men labels like they the players right there. So you got to watch out for them brothers. They players, right? Even though, with Sheikh, he opened up, he mentioned about how he know a lot of people that pimps. Sometimes people will take that and label that, see, the only people, you wasn't saying, what he wasn't saying was, he wasn't saying like, yo, you got to be a pimp in order to be in polygyny. That's not what he's saying. He was just mentioning that people are used to that particular lifestyle, right? However, that mentality, so that independent woman mentality, right? And the second mentality that go with it is the man with the everybody's a 304, right? I know y'all know what a 304 is. If not, let me tell you offline. It's, online might be some children watching this. So anyway, everybody, all women are 304s. That's what most men, they propagated. So there was a hatred there amongst each other. As time goes on, now what happens is the voice of the women is getting louder, and they're saying what? I shouldn't have to struggle. That was one of the biggest misnomers that we used to live by. That I used to justify selling drugs based on that. I can't watch my mama struggle. Now, literally, as a man, you really feel that way because, once again, as a man, it ain't just the husband's job. It's you as a man, as a son. When your mother gets older, if your mother don't have a husband, your mother get older. You're obligated to take care of your mother. You see what I'm saying? So we used to use that as an excuse to fuel it. It was the catalyst for me to go out and do something wrong. Why am I mentioning all this? Because it still plays a part on our Islamic psyche. So if you ain't gonna get out there and do something illegal and you just become like a bum, right? On that level, you ain't got no motivation, because for some reason, when it comes to doing things halal, brothers lack motivation. When it comes to doing halal, you lack motivation, or we want to just get just enough. There's no ambition there, right? So now you have those two mentalities. They're in a corner waiting to fight each other. It's like Mike Tyson versus Buster Douglas, right? But meanwhile, how Shaitan plays part in this, we believe that the best thing to do is just stay away from each other. Let's not even get married. But we could sleep together though. Where's the logic in that? We can sleep together. Because why? Because you don't feel that you're obligated to take care of that woman. So this is why it's no problem. That's why, in a lot of situations today, that's how a lot of marriages is getting done. I don't need you for nothing. Right? But then we complain about this same independent woman. The same independent woman. I don't need you for nothing. I only need you for one thing. When we ever know women to talk like this? Right? So you took away the traditional role. They didn't take away the traditional role. They just use as an excuse. I'm only going to follow you if you do such and such, such and such. That don't even sound right. Do you go into a job interview saying, yo, I'm only going to work for you if you so on and so forth? Right? So now this thing, now we starting to bring in things that we had you got to have a credit score of 600. You got to have this. Shorty, am I buying a car or am I getting a wife? What am I doing here? You know what I mean? You want to quote all these credentials and all these things. Yeah, that stuff is nice. But truthfully, what is that going to do for me? Because at the end of the day, you can already hit me with my money's my money. So now you don't want me to become dependent on this thing either. Right? So we're creating barriers to make us a standstill. And it all goes back to where it all started at, our lack of esteem for the Sharia. We prefer everything except for what Allah Ta'ala tells us. We prefer that. That's what we created a culture based on that. And the first thing it started with is that we need Islam for black people. Right? That's where it all started. That's where the beginning came at. After that, you started challenged in the revelation. People were eating halal. There was no ambiguity. It was very clear. Now it came with, halal is expensive. And all you got to do is say Bismillah and eat. You don't have to eat meat. Pause. Right? You can eat vegetables. You can eat fish. You don't have to eat it. It doesn't have to. You right? So, and then also the other thing is when you no longer see yourself being connected as oppressed, you no longer have empathy and compassion for no one because you develop the dusty Negro syndrome. Right? What's the dusty Negro syndrome? You no longer have empathy. There's no balance let me put it like this. There's no balance in our families. Either it's totally me, I, and I don't care what you got to say type of thing. I don't care how you go. It ain't my problem, right? Brother struggling like, yo, babe, I ain't really got no money this month. You can help me out. Ain't my problem, brother. You shouldn't have married me if you ain't got the money, right? Or you got the enabler. Yo, babe, don't even worry about it. You just sit here with the children while I go to work, right? This is what it's become now. The in the middle thing, when you have that, and I'm just talking about just right now, we're just talking about the family sector because that's the question. The thing in the middle now, if you have that man that has that kind of situation, right? Two things undermines his ability to execute as a leader. One, his arrogance. What do I mean? It's a statement that I live by. I heard Malcolm say it when I was a young boy before I was Muslim. He was talking about family life and things of that nature. He said, any man that got to constantly remind a woman that he's a man, then he probably ain't the man. Right? Or you may have married somebody that just don't have respect for that role. Right? Now, his arrogance, he talked down on her. When you got a man that got that bread, he carried money, it's one thing you want to motivate. You're supposed to motivate and make your wife ambitious, right? Your job as a Muslim, as a Muslim man, is motivate your wife to do things towards to get to Jannah, right? But when you listen, you can't run your mouth to me because I'm the provider in this house. You shut the hell up and you ain't this and you dumb and you this, that, and the third. And when y'all get married, y'all learn each other's weaknesses. The same way when you had a girlfriend, you were vulnerable, you told her your weaknesses, and then when y'all broke up, she like, that's why you stutter. That's why you can't read. That's why, whatever. They use that. Men do the same thing too. Right? So that's one, the arrogance. And two, the lack of respect. How many people, all you got to do, social media made it so easy now. All you got to do is look back at a lot of people's stats, and you'll see those warning signs on them joints. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, you really believe that? Yo, you really believe that? Is that what you really believe? You know, make them validate what they're saying. But these things play a major part in separation. It's all amplified by Shaitan. Because remember, the Shaitan praises little miniature shayateen for doing what? Breaking up the family, breaking up the home, right? And we don't understand it. And then also on top of that, instead of Quran, our recitation for Black Americans is the music. We fought hand and foot to get music. Now, music is what's destroying our children. Music been destroying our relationships. You come in the house and Beyonce playing, depend on the song. That's the mood that your wife is in. Sometimes, how many people do you
I can have another you in a minute.
There you go. There you go. Exactly, that attitude, that mind state. But here we are today, which is almost like an oxymoron, right? Here we are today trying to claim, trying to be the masters of the Sunnah, but in our heart, we still pumping that gangster music, and we be in it. You ever see, bro? I just see the brother do it today on the live. He was on there. He had his music playing. He had his kifaya wrapped up, and then he throwing up gang signs. Yeah, got the music on. The biggest contradiction you can have, right? This is what they fought for, though. This is what they fought for. See, it's part of our culture. It's part of our culture. And then when we have bad edeb, we like to say, we black, you know how we do. No. Bro, I know where we black can come, where that joint can take you. I know where it can take you. It's supposed to be about the Sunnah. That's what we're supposed to be doing. That's the first thing we'll do. We black. Man, you know, my people. So now I can't take the truth unless it's coming from your people, right? That's how some people today are getting. I don't know if other cities have it, but if you ever look in the what's that newspaper called here in Philly, the Free Joint. What's the name of that joint?
Inquirer.
No, the free one, man. We see it in the Metro, right? This is a test for you. When you go back to work, when you go to the VA, right? Grab one of them Metros, turn all the way in the back, right? Turn all the way in the back. You'll see these dudes in there. They on Facebook too. You already know. So a lot of people already know what I'm talking about. They're on Facebook too. They be like, you need money? Come see whatever the guy named Ibrahim Muhammad. And basically, like, he gonna give you blessings so you can make money and things of that nature for whatever X amount of money and stuff like that. Dudes went down that route. Why? These things are happening, right? So, all of these things, we're mixed up in our own minds. And then imagine when you that mixed up and then you become a leader on top of that. You mixed up, you become a father on top of that, right? As a young boy, one of my desires was I wanted to create a this is why I go so hard body. I wanted to create a whole drug empire if I had a bunch of children, right? Now, at this time I had no kids. But in my mind, that's what I wanted. When I became Muslim, now I'm like, nah, I gotta promote, I gotta have Muslim children.
You wanted the Griselda family.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? But this was my mind state growing up. Why? Because I was lost. So when I became Muslim, despite of what everybody was telling me, I was like, look, man, if it wasn't for Islam, I'd be out in the streets. I'm sticking with this. Whatever it is, I got to learn how to do it. I can't do a thing if I don't learn how. I can't be a carpenter if I don't learn carpentry. Right? But now we become Muslim, dudes be ignorant as hell. And they the mufti. All these marriage groups is a joke. Because it's always a bunch of hypothetical what if. Like dudes is on some real, some real hypothetical. Let me ask this question. Right? And they be asking the most asinine questions that you can think of. And the fact that you giving it thought and you already with your misguided notion, you start digging and looking in the ayahs to the Quran, and most of the time you read them in English, And that's already a pathway of misguidance, right? I'm not saying you can't get benefit from reading text in English. That's not what I'm saying. But the great benefit of misunderstanding, like what did people used to say? You can't be in polygyny because you have to be just. And then they take another ayat where Allah Ta'ala was talking about, about the two hearts, right? And so they're going to use the ayat to invalidate another ayat, because that's what they were doing. In the Sharia, it's called nasikh and mansukh, right? The abrogating and the abrogating. So we're going to abrogate by English with this one and the other one, and we don't know nothing about the asbabul nuzul, the cause of the revelation, any of that connected, and we're going to go ahead and just give fatwa just based on that, right? Then the whole concept of the polygyny, one is better if you only but new. It didn't necessarily say that in that manner, right? The ayat starts off about treatment of orphans, right? Because if you had, now this is the thing.
Abu Muhammad said put him back in.
I ain't even see him gone. Hold on. So, the treatment, there you go.
He went back out.
Hold on.
There you go.
Yeah, I know, I seen it. All right. So look, the treatment of orphans, right? So, now this is the thing. Most people be like today, especially today's climate. Oh man, how you gonna raise your orphan and then later on marry the orphan, right? So it's talking about treatment of orphans. One of the things that they used to do to women during the time before the Quran was revealed. Let's say I had a sister that I took care of, right? And you wanted to marry her. Me and you make a contract. Look, man, she got some properties that her father left her. So look, it's about 5 of them. All I need is 1. And she got about like 100 stacks. Basically, I'm giving you a mahar. And then I'm taking a cut for myself. Allah stopped all that. See, we can't see the benefit of Islam because we looking at each other. You talking about, these brothers oppressing me, right? Now, granted, a true oppressor, he has an upper hand. Most of these brothers that you claim is oppressing you, if you call the cops or you put his stuff out on the curb and say, yo, I don't want this man in my house and his name ain't on the lease, oppression is over. For the way we utilize the word, right? The whole mental state of how we approach Islam stumps our growth, right? There's no focus. Sometimes our focus is in the wrong place, right? Instead of us learning, memorizing Quran, we'll be 20 years in and only know 2 surahs. 20 years in, only know 2 surahs. Some people have been Muslim. I remember I counseled a couple one time, and the brother and the sister, they ain't even possess a Quran. And, and one of the bigger problems was that there was no education. 15, 20 years as Muslim, and they still praying in English. Stumps our growth. It stops a lot of it. So then you don't know all of these things, and then you get online and somebody's telling you, no, you gotta be Ashri, you gotta be Matari, you gotta be this, or you gotta be that, and that person demon, and you still don't know how to pray. How does that help? Knowledge is empowering. An example of knowledge being empowering. You go to a class. You learn the Fatiha. You learn how to recite it, right? So then what? That's empowering. Now you know the Fatiha. Now you're preparing yourself to learn how to pray, right? So then what? Okay, next day you learn the surah after that. Then you learn the Tashahhud, right? You learn the Dua Ibrahima, right? You learn all of those things connected to Salah. You learn how, learn what invalidates wudu, right? You learn what invalidates prayer. You learn how to make ghusl. You learn about menstruation, right? All of these things is what leads and transform a society. Did not the Prophet ﷺ transform a city full of pagans? Wasn't the Kaaba a host of idols at one point in time? And all of these things, we're negligent because we start looking at things on what's more of a priority over this, right? This is part of the problem too. And then we feel like we've reached a level of graduation, so we cut everybody off. I'm the most knowledgeable, and now I'm going to go start my live stream. And meanwhile, it's no problem if everybody was running that, running the same program. You teach the people that believe, move on. Teach them how to make wudu, move on. Teach them about salah, move on. Teach them about these things. Then you tell your students, now you go out there and go teach, because that is the way the Sahaba. That's the way the Sahabas did it. If you're holding a person account and you want them to learn all of the intricate details and all the nuances and pertaining to the science of Ilm al-Kalam, all of the details of Arabic and things of this nature, it's going to take people a lifetime. So you have to give an empowering type of Islam. You have to. Families have to be based on this as well. Most people don't have goals for their family. They have their individual goals, but they don't have family goals.
Right? I was just talking about that too, man. Is that the marriages now consist of you do your own thing, I do my own thing. We come in this bedroom to get our quick fix, and then you go back and do your own thing, and I go back and do my own thing. Right. We forgot that even with this, this thing, the man provides out of his means. You're absolutely right. But we forgot that even the women companions that was around the Prophet ﷺ, they had jobs, and they brought what they brought back to the family. See, we forget all of these things, that unity was amongst everybody. Like if nobody was working, we forgot that the companions got taken from their homes. All these other things, we forget all about these things. It took drive, it took dedication for them to build, right? So now we're not even building. So to answer the question, some of the solutions that we need, right? That we need solutions, right? The Prophet ﷺ said what? Ajtanibu al-kaba'ira wa saddidu wa bashiru, right? So the Prophet ﷺ said what? Avoid, right? Avoid what? Al-kaba'ir, right? To avoid, to avoid these major sins. And then he said what? Follow the right course and give glad tidings. So one, we got to start avoiding these major sins. If we look at us now as Muslims, we praise major sins. We have no problem committing zina. No problem at all. No problem. We have no problem indulging into intoxicants and showing it, broadcasting it. Wallahi, I seen yesterday, I'm not going to say the person there, but I was watching this person live. One sister with her, not covered. The other sister has a whole khimar, and they're in a bar on live with a khimar. We praise intoxicants. I see many Muslim brothers that I know, bottle in their hand, blunt in their hand. We praise this stuff. We praise it. So we don't avoid the major sins. We indulge in the major sins. And then following the right course. Understanding what is legislated from Allah and His Messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And we follow that to the best of our ability. As Imam Khalil said, learn your fard ayn. Learn your personal obligations. Learn them. Practice them. Embed that in your heart. Spread it to others so others can go out and teach others. Right? Follow the right course. And give glad tidings. And give glad tidings. Give good advice. Speak the truth even if it's against yourself. We are liars. We are manipulators. We are instigators. We love being in the mix of everything. We love causing problems. We love backbiting. We love it. We love it. And then it's to the point where we want somebody to backbite us so we can confront them on the issue. I want that person to say something about me, so when I catch him, I'm gonna bink, 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 bink.
Or we want them to say something about us so we can say something about them.
Right. And
So
glad.
I think that was directed at something you said.
What you say? Repeat that. Oh, what is glad? Glad tidings is, enjoining the good and forbidding the evil. Also speaking of the hereafter. right? So now we don't do any of these things. We have something called what? The haram police, right? We all heard of that, the haram police, right? Someone speak good, say something good. What is the haram police, Abu Muhammad? So nobody think I'm true. What is the haram police?
Haram police are someone who always checking up on the affairs of everyone else besides themselves. As soon as something is dead, they point out that this is haram or that is haram. Ignoring the fact that what they're doing is not enjoining the good and forbidding the evil.
But that's not what they consider the haram police. The haram police is anybody who says something that you like, yo, we ain't supposed to be doing that. Oh, shut up. You look like here this person come. That's the haram police, is the person who speaks of what someone, yo, we ain't supposed to be doing that. And now they're judging the person for doing that now. Here he come.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Here he come. Here come Mr. What they call it, the good brother. Here come the good sister.
Here go the good brother.
Here come the good brother. Here go the good sister. Right?
Nah.
Call this person all type of names. Nah. Bashing them. Right? So, we have to start doing these things. Stay away from major sins. Stay away from major sins.
We gotta do that till we reach the grave on that.
Anyway. Right. But we have to start. We're not even starting. We're praising it. What's that thing?
The development of that change to lead up to where you're talking about is how how you're viewing life, just in general. How you view, how you
You muted, Sheikh.
You muted yourself.
Yeah, my bad. How you view, how you're viewing and approaching life in general as a Muslim. If you look at the Sharia as something that you don't have to follow, or it's your choice or something of that nature, that's how you're going to approach it. We're always looking for a concession or, a reason to get around the obligation versus trying to take on the obligation. And those who do take on the obligation, and head on and try to practice that thing, you usually get outcasted by, your peers, especially if they're not in that, into that same mind frame. You see what I'm saying? So that's where that, that's where all of this stuff is like coming from, with the mix of all of the information overload. The information overload. And then also with that information overload, you also start to develop intellectual gangbanging. That's what's happening today. Intellectual gangbanging. You see what I'm saying?
So, intellectual gangbanging.
That's exactly what it is. And then there's a lot of misinformation that needs to be corrected and things of that nature. Teachers are supposed to be like operators. You remember back in the day, the old days, with the phone to ring, 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 ring. You used to have the operator to pull out the plug and connect you to whatever the number was that you were trying to call. You used to have those type of things. That's exactly what you have to be. You have to be the connector, right? We have to begin to promote, good practice with family. But you can't promote this thing on a wide scale and use everything and everybody with a paintbrush. Every marriage is different. You may have someone like many of us critique people. Let's say, for instance, that they're married to someone, right? And let's say that the person, there may be some sort of, I don't know, maybe the man doesn't have a lot of wealth, right? People will criticize the woman that is settled for that, right? Give all kinds of accolades, or you're stupid and things of that nature. But what would you say about the mother of the believers? There was one of the wives of the Prophet Saleh. I want to say it was either Salima or Sauda. And it was where that they were going to get divorced. And she came to the Prophet Sallallahu, and she gave up all her nights to Aisha. Right? Now the thing was, he didn't just like keep her and he still visited her. But whatever nights it was that she was to have, it was forwarded and given over to Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha. Right? If a person is on his deathbed, or sick, and he may, require or ask that one particular wife to, care for me, right? May have that one wife, she may care for him in a better manner than other women. You have women of different temperament, right? And he might ask for that particular wife to give, to care for him. What are you going to say? Oh, brother, you being unjust? Would you accuse the Prophet of some of these type of things? Right? But if you lack education, then you're going to make gruesome mistakes and have a lot of inconsistency in your practice. Right? And so then usually with that person in our arrogance, a lot of us in our arrogance, we don't like to be corrected. So we'll, start blaming the person. That's where the haram police develop from. Those arrogant people, the rejectors, the people that they're arrogant and they're rejecting, they start labeling you. And that label's the put so other people don't listen to you or follow you. That's what that's about. It's so other people don't listen to you or follow. So you can't influence nobody else to pray 5 a day. You can't influence no one else. You see what I'm saying? So this is the type of thing that are coming from these accolades and handles that we're giving people today. So what is the solution? The solution is a basic foundation. You have to build yourself up. But we'll get to the solution towards the end. I'm going to let the brothers talk, inshallah, and then we'll talk about solutions.
Nah, but you like you said, you're totally right, man. But the thing is, though, we have to. Everything has a start, right? Bidayah to hidayah, right? Everything has to have a start, a beginning of guidance. We have to have a beginning. And what's the beginning? The first thing, we have to start reflecting on ourselves. Or we have to start reflecting on ourselves and start holding our own selves accountable. Holding our own selves accountable. Right? Right? What did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say in the Quran, right? Save yourself, then your family from a fire that's fueled by men and stone. You have to work on yourself. You have to be stingy with yourself, meaning that you want all the barakah that you can. You have to start somewhere. You have to start somewhere. And the first thing is, like I said, we have to reflect on ourselves. Where's my errors? What's this? What is my problems? I have to find this. You have to come up with the solution to this. And we understand how we come up with these solutions to our problem of ourselves is in the Quran. The Quran is the shifa, is the healing. Right? Fall back in love with the Quran. And I'm speaking to myself too. We have to fall back in love with the Quran. Try to read it as much as possible. And that's the problem we are having. Right? We all lack on reading the Quran. We all lack that. Right? I mean, we lack it. We'll listen more to lectures and read something about a hadith before we even go into the Quran. Before we even go into the Quran. Right? And try to learn to read the Quran in the Arabic language. Right? I was talking to some people before. I said, we learn all these terminologies, right? All these terminologies, especially people in the medical field. You learn all these terminologies, how to do this, how to do this, how to do that, with this, what's that, what's this, how much oxygen this person need, how much is this, how much this person need, right? What it is, what's this called? But then you telling me you have a problem with saying aleph, bat? Right? You know a whole bunch of tongue twisting words. What did you just say? Yeah, the philanthropist of the metamorphosis time. You know all that stuff, but you can't say ah. You ain't putting in effort to say ah or bat or tat.
Because there ain't no money connected to it. The reward isn't looking for Jannah or any of that. The intention is because you're looking for that bread.
How you feel about that, Abu Muhammad?
About no bread being connected to learning?
Connected to learning. Sacred knowledge, learning the Quran. There's no bread involved in that, so we don't care as much. There's no worldly gain attached to it.
But it's hereafter gain attached to it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's important. is hereafter gain connected to memorizing the Quran, following the Quran, practicing the Quran, reciting the Quran. I mean, what you know what I'm saying, on the day of judgment, the reciters of the Quran, they, you know what I'm saying, they will be commanded to recite, and they'll recite until they stop, and wherever they stop at, that's the level of Jannah they're gonna be at. I mean, so it's a next life hereafter benefit and reward for it, right? If an individual, I personally, in my opinion, don't think anyone should be getting paid for teaching Quran, right? Because you putting the price tag of monetary value on religion, on the way of life. You know what I'm saying? Not saying that you don't give your teacher a gift, or every time you come to class you bring your teacher something, because your teacher do got to survive too. But what's more important? The teacher is responsible for taking care of their own affairs as well. So they need a job. There's no archdiocese in Islam, right? There's no archdiocese in Islam. The imams and the shuyukh are not priests and rabbis, right? So them getting a paycheck for doing something that is already a obligation for them to do. When they go and learn that knowledge, they obligated to come back and teach, right? They're responsible. It's part of their responsibility to come back and teach. So you mean to tell me that you already sacrificed your time, your money to go learn, and what you expect in payment for teaching when you come back? No, yeah, we should um assist them in the things that they need, because they provide a service for the ummah, right?
Sheikh,
In
before we
teaching,
get off, remind me I want to read a little bio of a female scholar. It's in line with what you're saying. I ain't mean to cut you off,
right?
but just remind me that before we get off tonight,
Okay,
I want to read. I think it's important to add to the discussion as a lot, as an example.
all right. You know what I'm saying. A lot of times, like I remember one of my teachers, right? He would use his own money to travel to different cities to teach people, right? To teach classes. Now, when he got there, the people who he was teaching, they may have gave him a travel, or travel, some money to replace his travel expense, but his intention wasn't to teach for that. His sole intention was to come there and teach. And his profession, even though he's a teacher, right, an imam at a masjid, but his profession is a chemical a chemical engineer, right? A chemical engineer. So he make chop every year. You follow me? You know what I'm saying? But because Allah Ta'ala blessed him to get this knowledge, to go study in Mauritania and Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, to get knowledge, he's obligated to come back and teach. And he's not one of them teachers that uh that give out ijazas. If he find out that you're ijaza chasing, he won't even give you a general ijaza to teach what you learned from him, because he looked at the ijaza stuff as a mechanism for clout.
You know what? There's a comment right here.
Yep.
I I agree to some extent, and then to some extent, I disagree. Helping is by being on the front line, things of that nature, right? However, leaders, especially in the Black Muslim community, we need visible men to not only lead the prayers, right? Deal with the things and stuff, things of that nature with with the community, but also our young need to see them earn a living by their hands, because it teaches our young that you can be Muslim, teach Islam, and be effective. Because sometimes with leadership, and I can say this because I'm on the other side of the spectrum, some people look for that help. If you took away that title, they struggle just like everybody else in the ranks. You see what I'm saying? So this has to be seen. A lot of things, because we're used to people talking to us, but we're not used to seeing it. You have to see it. That's the one missing element. The difference that I've noticed when I was in prison versus when I was out on the street. The people that I used to talk to the most and used to give me the most advice, they were actually living by that. Whereas when I got on the street, it's a whole different story. You know what I'm saying? Now I'm not saying that there wasn't no bad Muslims or anything like that, but these people I seen with my eyes. Now I'll do this if I get you guys permission. Remember I said I wanted to mention about someone. Just a little short. It's actually something that I put together. I never published this as a book, but I actually compiled this. And you know, is it cool with y'all, Muhammad and Mujeeb? If I just
Yeah,
take
it's cool. It's cool.
all right, so this is something that I wrote. I didn't publish it yet. It's basically it's me. It's on my laptop. It's with me. I didn't publish it yet, but I taught it a couple times. Now, what it is, it's a book that I was asked to speak at a woman's lecture. Good night. I can't remember. It was like 2000, maybe 9, something like that. And
AD or
it,
BC.
and so it was a lecture. It was a lecture for women, right? There was men there too, but my primary focus was women because the sisters was the one who organized it, and they asked me to speak on women. And so I titled the book "Molding Our Righteous Mothers," right? And so my little 2-line intro, I said every person needs a model. We found that model in the Messenger of Allah sallallahu and those who
So,
follow. So I chose a few individual women from amongst the earlier Muslims. Now in there, I kept constantly updating it and adding to it, right? So this one woman that I'm going to mention, she is the maternal grandmother of Sheikh Ahmed Ubamba, right? Her name is Sukhna Astuwalu, or she was also known as Aisha, right? So in Wolof, her name was Sukhna Astuwalu in the Wolof language. She lived a long life. Like they say, she lived to be about 100, maybe 115 years old. And she was raised. She mainly raised Sheikh Ahmed Ubamba, and since the Sheikh's mother passed away, right at 33. So after parenting, she parented the Sheikh for about 14, 15 years. And she was also a spiritual leader, right? And she was known for Maliki fiqh, and she had her own madrasa. She had her own madrasa in the city of maybe the Mordidi brothers can tell me. I think it's spelled Mbacke, right? Mbaki, right? and which holds constantly around between 100 students. Now, this is a woman. She used to be known for having strong physicality to the extent that they described her sometimes as being masculine, like a statue was very strong. And she used to wear uh, an abaya with a niqab. This is West Africa. All right. And she was also leading in agricultural works on the fields next to the madrasa. So she was a working woman. Not only was she a teacher, but she was a working woman as well. And she helped raise her family. She raised her, her grandson, and etc. And she was the grandmother of Sheikh Ahmed Bamba on the maternal side, on the mother's side. Now, they said she was so strong that she used to hold an agricultural tool in one hand, and she used to have a sibha in the other hand doing dhikr, and she used to cover her face, especially when male students were around. She used to teach them from behind the veil. How did Aisha, the mother of the believers, used to teach men? From behind the veil, right? Radiallahu ta'ala anha. So she often was visited by male scholars, and they would come and seek advice from her, and seek fatwa and things of that nature. And her madrasa was self-sufficient because the crops that she produced, she would feed the students, and then she would go out and sell the rest in the local markets and other madrasas. And the curriculum from her school resumed the memorization of the Quran according to the recitation, the Qira'ah Imam of Warsh, right? Maliki fiqh. They'll study from the Akhdari all the way to the Mukhtasar Khalil, the science of Arabic. They would study, Balaga, Nahu, Sarf, the whole thing. And it was reported that she used to do nawafil, reading of the entire Quran every single night until she died. Right? Every single night till she died. And she would teach and give ijaza license, and she would relate a particular dhikr was called Hizbul Saif, right? Which she used to do all the time, and was very, very something that she loved. And she used to recommend that Sheikh Ahmed Bamba at the early age to use this, in she used to write qasidas. They said Hizbul Saif is what led the Sheikh at 15 and 17 to start writing. He wrote a qasida called Sindidi, and including the major points. So anyway, the Sheikh later told his grandmother. Hold on one second. No, I gotta go back and fix that. So anyway, I'm gonna skip because it's kind of long. Hold on. So hold on, because I want to mention the point. She used to help take care of the students. She would, if she had a student that wanted to get married, she would give them the money to get the mahar if they didn't have the money. All right. And especially if he was a caretaker for the madrasa. So she not only did she teach people, she also employed them. Right. She would support them, financially. And basically they said she sacrificed a lot of her time. Right. And then I'll touch on just a little bit. I'll give you just a little bit. Her daughter, which is the mother of Sheikh Ahmed Bamba, her name was Maryam Busosu al-Hassani, right? And somebody need to ask that question because she carried the title of Hassani, or she Ahlul Bayt, right? So anyway, meaning that she was from the bloodline of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So they said about her, the daughter, that she was known for her piety and her scholarship and her humility and silence and she had high hemming. She was very enthusiastic, right? This is one of the things that gets in our way. We have low enthusiasm, right? We're not very enthusiastic with regards to our Islam, which basically leads to us having like an almost like an inferiority complex, right? Low self-esteem. It fuels it. It's a catalyst for it, right? And she was also a woman of zuhud, meaning she wasn't a person who loved the dunya, right? And she was extremely generous. And she used to be one of the top teachers at her mother's madrasa, Sayyidina Aisha, right? She said, although she was married by the age of 18 and 19, it is reported that she had 50 to 75 students who memorized the Quran under her tutelage at the madrasa. And she was very close to her mother. And, as such, she learned and studied various sciences under her. And many scholars in Senegal reported that they had not encountered anyone who had more understanding of the Mukhtasar Khalil, which is an advanced book of fiqh in the Maliki madhab, than her. And she actually loved the Mukhtasar of Khalil so much that she used to carry the book with her at all times with her, and she would read it over and over and over. And also, too, they're emphasizing that she used to wear face veil, and she used to also teach from behind a physical veil.
Can we get some Shafi people? Like you just naming all Malikis over here, man. You just naming Malikis like I feel some type of way or something like that.
Hey, listen, man, Malikis do it best, hands down, man.
Yeah, hands down, right? Hands down.
So, but I just wanted to emphasize on that. It's a lot more. I can even talk about Maymuna to Kabir, who's the daughter of Sheikh Ahmed Bamba. So in his lineage, there's nothing but scholarship coming from on behalf of the women. But the point I wanted to highlight and why I said it's related, it can relate to Muhammad Ameen, where we're living in a time where a lot of women are industrious. But not any of these women ever felt the need that they didn't need a man. None of them ever felt this. And the proof of that is you got the mother, you got the daughter, and you got the granddaughter. All of them were married. All of them were industrious. They were involved in the development of the community, right? So this is the type of mentality, the type of family, the type of environment that we have to create where our women and children and men are all together on one accord. We can't do this if we have the constant battle and the war going on, right? You remember the 5K battle, right? You go from that to now I heard somebody saying that if you can't take care of a woman, you get married to somebody else, you commit adultery. Like all of this foolishness, this is all foolery. This is all foolishness. And all it is just to put shame on the other one. If family wasn't so important, take it back to history during the transatlantic slave trade. They used to have the buck. And his job was just to run around and impregnate women and create more slaves. Well, that hasn't stopped yet. If you're a man and you running around and you just keep constantly impregnating women and not taking care of them or marrying them, right? That 13th Amendment, it didn't abolish slavery. It just changed it to the correctional, to correction department, right? Go look it up. You don't believe me? Look it up. It still stands to this day. The only thing, if you ever notice, anybody who's been in the prison, I don't know how Jersey, do you got a name or a number? How you recognize a name or a number?
179453D.
There you go. Ameen, how would you recognize in Illinois? By a name or a number? I still remember my number too. That joint like
by a number.
My number 1789, 1789. Wait a minute, 97R 1789. I'll never forget it. You didn't have
179453D.
Because you're a slave.
B45712.
You're a slave. And this is the thing. with all of that music and all that stuff that we fought for, our children are glorifying. Going to jail is like getting to paradise to them. Getting murdered is like a martyr. You get the balloons celebrated. You get put on a t-shirt. That's the only love they ever felt. We have to start making that environment, that household environment of love. Love our children. Show our children it's okay to have affection. Right? Because the more we, and especially as men, right? Some that black father parenting. Everybody got a number. That black father parenting with that trying to be that tough guy, but you gonna go out here, you gonna throw blows and things like that. Listen, whatever you gonna do, if you got it in you, you got it in you. If you ain't got it in you, you ain't got it in you. You don't have to tell your son, teach your son that the only way that you can survive is that you gotta grow up. You already raising a killer. You got a young killer in the making. You raise him like that. Society is already looking at him like that. And those who ain't into that, they're looking at him like, you ain't probably one of them boys over there killing people. Right? I'm not saying you teach them self-defense. When you change the trajectory of things when you become educated and educated properly. You won't look at, combat training as a act of, like some vigilante or something like that. You look at it as more of a method of self-defense, discipline, things of that nature. Sports, you don't just look at it as, my son, he gonna get to the NFL. Everybody don't make it to the NFL. But what they will learn if they got the right coach, and if the mother ain't out there, badgering the coach all the time, the little boy will learn discipline. He'll learn how to work with other people. But mostly, when you look at a lot of some of these youth sports programs, most of these little boys are quitters. Man, I ain't even playing no more, man. I can't stand this thing. They quit. You see what I'm saying? See, these things this is what they were built for in order to develop these particular things. So we don't utilize things in this proper manner. Only thing we do is sell our children pipe dreams. The average kid, they got probably like 2 or 3 choices, right? We look at how people make money off of social media. They pay them a lot of money to be a clown on social media. You don't use anything intellectual on social media. You don't do anything intellectual on social media, right? Some people they make the most money by showing their body, exposing their feet, twerking, dancing, setting themselves on fire, drinking bleach, all of these dumb things to get a bunch of views, and then they get a check. But if a person, right? If a person is trying to spend their time developing, you don't get that same type of love. You don't get that same type of love. And not that you're doing it for the check, but my case in point is they're not spreading that information. The numbers are very low. Right? So what can be done is start doing the things that we're talking about right here. Education. Make sure that's primary in the household. Right? Primary in the household. Engage our young into learning, things of that nature, and also they gotta see us walk in and out that door, working. In, out that door, praying at the masjid. In, out that door during time for Jumu'ah. They'll know you at Jumu'ah because you took them out of school for Jumu'ah. We don't see that no more. So therefore, you think these things never happen. This is why guys are popping up now like, yo, we the only ones that are doing it. Bro, dudes been doing it. I don't know what's happening with everybody. I don't know, people getting, there's no really like no Muslim retirement plan. You just stop acting unless you like crippled and can't move. And even then, there still ain't no excuse. I remember there used to be a brother in New York. And he would, he was always praying. He had 3 wives too. He always praying at the masjid. As he got older, he couldn't walk no more. His wives used to take turn to drive him to the masjid for Fajr and Dhuhr and Asr and Maghrib and Isha. And this happened until Allah took him, Rahmatullahi alayh. So We have to have more of a spiritual foundation. No.
Ain't what else can we say? You hit the you hit the nail on the coffin. True. We gotta, like I said, we gotta start. We gotta start looking at ourselves, finding out our errors, and fixing it. And fixing it according to what's legislated through Allah and His Messenger, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Right? Teaching, spreading it, and telling our people to spread it. You get what I'm saying? But I think you missed one thing too, Imam Khalil. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think you missed one more thing. Especially when it comes to building families.
No.
Right? We can't be scared to love people anymore, man.
No, you can't be.
Right? We're so caught up in not loving anymore due to trauma that we run from marriage because we're scared of being vulnerable. Right? We have to create love again. Right? What did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say in the Quran about, find you see something wrong with your wife, think about the good, right? So it's like the Prophet forgive me, the Prophet said it, yeah, forgive me. And are we doing that? Do we reflect on like, dang, I can't stand her guts right now, but girl, boy, she makes some mean pancakes. Woo! I can't stand it, but boy, she get on my nerves right now. But every time I come in the house, the house clean, smells good, I'm comfortable. Same thing with a wife. Y'all got to think about that. I can't stand him right now, but he makes sure every time I go on the phone, he tells me to have a great day and he loves me.
Nah, subhanAllah. I used to have a wife. We're no longer married. That's why I said used to. Every day when I would go out to leave, to go to work, she would make dua for me. Whenever I was going out the door, or if I was on the phone with her and I'm about to hang up, that morning, and she'd be like, yo, make sure you stay on top of your salat, and may Allah Ta'ala bless you with a prosperous day. And I used to be like, subhanAllah, I mean, you know what I'm saying? But you don't get that. I used to have a wife that also used to be like, may Allah Ta'ala make you a better man or break your back. I'm like, damn.
Or break your back. What, you tell him to kill me? You tell him, and my cat William, would you tell him to kill me?
I was like, wow, man. Like, I'm the kind of person, I reflect. You know what I'm saying? And I used to be like, damn, I think I better get myself together, man. This girl's ass a lot. Break my back, man. But, these kind of things, are motivating. When your sons go out, they're leaving out for school or whatever, make dua for them. May Allah Ta'ala bless you, and have a prosperous day, and things of that nature, these, you create memories. You create good memories for this dunya. Versus always, having and holding on to bad thoughts. And that's a lot of, like you said, is becoming like a thing that's putting up barriers. And it's affecting the development of the Muslim household. You know what I'm saying? So this is something that plays a major part. Instead of telling the children how much they get on your nerves, sometimes inspire them. Instead of always telling the wife what she does wrong, try to inspire her, you know what I mean? And keep her doing well. Look, I'm trying to do this thing from the sunnah, encourage your wives to give sadaqah. This is from the sunnah. You know what I'm saying? Encourage them. But you're not going to learn how to be a better person if you're neglecting learning about the life of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, which does seem like, not just seem like, it is one of our barriers. It is one of the things that block you from good. Because we always look for and find an alternative route rather than following the sunnah. We say it ain't an obligation. We'll say everything except I don't follow him. And think about how important the Prophet ﷺ was. Allah Ta'ala says in the Quran, قُلْ إِن كُنْتُمْ تُحِبُّونَ اللَّهَ فَاتَّبِعُونِي وَيُحِبُّكُمُ اللَّهُ وَيَغْفِرْ لَكُمْ ذُنُوبَكُمْ. Right? Say, if you love Allah, wow. Everybody claims to love Allah. Right? I remember, you brothers get ticked, man, I love Allah, man. Right? But you don't hear people saying that same thing about how they love the Prophet, something like that. So Allah Ta'ala, look at the wisdom of Allah Ta'ala. قُلْ إِن كُنْتُمْ تُحِبُّونَ اللَّهَ. Say, if you love Allah, فَاتَّبِعُونِي, then follow me. That's a testimony of your love. So we need to get more in tune with the seerah. And that's everybody. Leaders, mothers, fathers, sons, daughters, everybody. You have to get more in tune with that. So that, Muhammad, what's your advice, your solution? That's my parting advice to our audience.
Man, man, him and his wife Boo love it, man. That's why he dipped off, man. He texting on one phone, got the tablet on the joint. We know what y'all doing. We know y'all ain't slick. That's why I got that camera on. Y'all ain't slick. Shoot.
My closing statements is increase yourself in actions that gain the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You pray in the fara'id, pray the sunnahs. You pray in the sunnahs, pray the nawafils. Do some increase your dhikr. Increase your dhikr, right? Build on what you done already learned. And ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give you an opening through them avenues of dhikr. Give you an opening through your reading of the Quran. Right? Treat your worship as though you're having a love affair with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And always be mindful that Allah Ta'ala is forever watching. He's Raqib. He's forever watching over us. Be mindful of that. So that's my closing statements of advice. Abdul Mujeeb.
Sorry, don't try to run away, Aki. Come on in here.
I didn't run away.
I'm just joking.
I didn't run. Excuse me. My word is encouragement, man. Brush your teeth. Nah, I'm playing. That, as again, we have to stay away from major sins. We have to reflect on ourselves, what we need done, implement the things that is going to purify our hearts, right? And don't be scared to be vulnerable. And when I mean be vulnerable, know that we don't know everything. We don't have everything figured out, right? We don't have everything figured out, right? As Imam Khalil spoke about, reading the women scholars, that, and as I said earlier, that, just because, you're contributing, into embedded, enhancing the family, right? Does it make your husband a less of a man, right? Understand you're doing this to, advance your family, to put your family on a higher level, right? Create love between you and your spouse. Do what Abu Muhammad is doing right now. Like, he paying attention, he texting the entire time. Do what he's doing. That's romance, right? That's romance. I wish, I had romance like that. I don't get that type of stuff. I can't text nobody. I can't be all booed up,
Gotta get you in them zouges, right?
Right, so You know, so
I don't know what you talking about. I was hiding myself from the camera so y'all won't see me dozing off.
okay.
I only turn my screen on so I can eat. I ain't gonna
So
hold you.
you tearing something up. Yeah, I mean, everybody cut their screen on and they want to come out and do Mujeeb career. You eating, you sleeping. You know what I mean? They doing me dirty, you know. But again, you know, we have to create love. That's the main thing that we're missing in the inner city Muslim communities. We're missing love. We don't love our neighbors. I remember, you know, when growing up, all of us can vouch, you know, living in neighborhoods like that, that you knew you could go to any one of your friends' house, and if you was close enough to your friend, you could just walk right on in, go upstairs, and play the game system with your boy.
Hey,
You do something wrong.
That remind me of that song. Where is the love? Where is the love?
Mm-hmm. Right. I mean, and you know, we gotta create that bet. You know, so again, staying away from major sins. Don't be scared to be vulnerable and create love in your household between you and your spouse, and build and create together so you can advance your family.
Now you know in the near future, I ain't gonna do it next week. I might have the sisters on because they had a nice little discussion that I think they need to expose to the world. It was a little hot in there. Not hot like that, but it was, you know, it was popping. But anyway, part 2 to this, then we'll start talking about Jamaat and getting, you know, political growth. This is just a foundation. If our families ain't right, if we're not right as individuals, with education and building a family based on that, you can forget about everything else. Could you imagine the Sahabas with the Prophet ﷺ going out and fighting Badr, but everybody got a problem with each other? Could you imagine that? It will be impossible. These things that were revealed in the Quran, such as speaking against backbiting and things of that nature, there's wisdom behind it. Ultimately, is to avoid going to hellfire. But there's wisdom behind it. It stops the matters of dunya as well. A lot of dunya matters. Right? So, you know, it keeps that camaraderie, suhbah, and things of this nature. That's what we had our program about last week. And it's actually recorded on our YouTube channel. You know, and also on our Facebook and our Facebook groups as well. But these things are important. But you can't move to an economic change if there's no suhbah, no camaraderie. A political change if there's no suhbah, no camaraderie. You can't keep a family if there's no camaraderie between the husband and wife or the wives. Because the Jama'at ultimately is the family. The children have a breakdown. If they're all fighting and killing each other, you won't have anything. So these type of things are important and these things are necessary to talk about. And those people that are married in good situations, they need to expose that to the world. So with that, inshallah, I'm done. That's it. That's all.
You can give us a small dua. You give us a small dua, Abu Muhammad. I know you're tired, bro, and I know you got work in the morning. You ain't gotta go.
That's why he got the lights out. He cut the lights out so y'all don't see him over there dipping.
Yeah. Now he texting now. Let's face it. I see that the screen. He texting now. Go ahead, man. Go ahead, man.
اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد الفاتح لما أغلق والخاتم لما سبق ناصر الحق بالحق وهادي إلى صراطك المستقيم وعلى آله حق قدره مقدار العظيم سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين والصلاة والسلام على رسولك الكريم آمين سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصل بالحق وتواصل بالصبر. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Please, everyone, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell.
Mm-hmm.
Please like and share the video. Already shared it like 15 times. So everyone that's in the chat, please share the video. If I can share it 15 times, everyone on here can share it 15 times.
Facts.
All right. So let's keep this Facebook algorithm going. Let's keep this YouTube algorithm going. Right?
No.
To get this message out. All right, inshallah.
Give us ideas. Give us ideas.
How we support.
What y'all would like us to talk about too.
This is how you support the program. This is how you support report the broadcast. Support the broadcast. Right. Notice that we don't ask y'all for no donations every week. We won't ask y'all for money. There's no entrance fee. Right. No. We don't do any of that. Right. However, if we did, any donations are welcome. However, but the donations go through the pages, go through the Tajdeed Sunnah page, the Master Uthman Dan Fodio page, right? However, we do need support. Things do need to get done, right? But support us more by putting this information out there. Share our video.
Apple pens need to get purchased.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Enjoy your night.